Do you have tight hamstrings and kyphosis? Well, you're not alone. There's a lot of people with kyphosis that also have tight hamstrings. And tight hamstrings can actually increase kyphosis. So how do we stretch hamstrings without increasing the kyphosis? That's the question we're going to answer today, and it's an important one because we want to stretch the hamstrings, but we don't want to increase the kyphosis. Okay, so let me describe how hamstring tightness can increase kyphosis. So the hamstrings insert here into the pelvis, right at the top of the hamstrings into the glutes. If the hamstrings are tight, they will pull the pelvis into what's called a posterior pelvic tilt. So as that pelvis tilts back, we get a lessening of the lordosis, the low back curve. And as the pelvis goes back, we can also see the trunk gets thrown forward. So we get into this position of kyphosis and reduced lordosis because of those tight hamstrings. I'm exaggerating that, but that's the mechanism. The hamstrings attach into the pelvis tilts back, reduces the lordosis, throws the trunk forward into kyphosis. So we want to stretch the hamstrings if they're tight. If they're not tight and someone has kyphosis, we need to look at other reasons that their kyphosis is increased. But hamstrings aren't the total reason why kyphosis is there. So keep that in mind. There are other issues going on. This is just one thing that we need to do. So stretching the hamstrings, how do we do that? I don't want someone stretching their hamstrings going into kyphosis. So keep that in mind. If we're doing a stretch where we're increasing kyphosis, we need to find a different stretch to control that, especially if we're dealing with a teenager with Scheuermann's kyphosis. We don't want to encourage that forward posture of the kyphosis. So keep that in mind. So if we go over a couple of common ways to stretch the hamstrings, a lot of times there's a lot of kyphosis that happens with it. So if we think about just a hamstring stretch where you're standing and you're bending forward, touching your toes. I mean, you can see on me, my hamstrings are tight and my back is rounding. I can feel a stretch in my hamstrings, but I'm sacrificing the kyphosis to get there. So not ideal. Number two option, there are a lot of ways to stretch the hamstrings, but number two option that I'll see is putting your leg up on a table or something and then leaning forward and trying to grab your toes. I don't like this stretch. I like this stretch, but not in this way. I don't like people trying to grab their toes because that rounds their back. Anytime you're reaching, you're going to be rounding the kyphosis. So I'm okay with this stretch if it's done at the pelvis. So keeping a nice tall posture, leaning forward at I don't have to go very far, leaning forward at the hips, you can feel that stretch through the hamstrings. I don't need to round my back to feel my hamstring stretch. If I can keep tall posture and I go forward, boom, I'm feeling the hamstring stretch there. So I don't have to go much more than that. So if you can't get into this position with your back nice and straight, and you can't get that stretch because like you're hanging out back here because they're so tight, there is another option. And if we can't control the kyphosis, there is another option. So the other option is using a stretch strap. You don't have to have a specific stretch strap, but I'll put the link to this in the description below. And we're going to use this so that we can keep our back nice and straight as we stretch the hamstrings. So what you're going to do, you're going to loop this around your foot first. You're going to lay back and you can keep your legs straight. These stretch straps have loops that you can use. You're going to keep your legs straight and you're going to pull up. Oh, I'm feeling that already. And you're going to go to where you feel a hamstring stretch. If you notice, my back isn't rounded at all. My back is straight on the table and I can get a good hamstring stretch. Then I can switch sides and do the hamstring stretch on the other side. So this is a way that we can do this without increasing kyphosis. but we can still get a good hamstring stretch. The only issue that can happen with this is if someone has a lot of nerve tension in the sciatic nerve. If you feel that and you're feeling like the stretch is all in your calf and it feels like just not like a good muscle stretch, you might be tensing the sciatic nerve. So we may have to modify that, loosen up the sciatic nerve first. But these two ways, sitting without rounding your back, laying on your back using a strap, those are great ways to stretch the hamstrings without increasing kyphosis. Hold the stretch for about 30 seconds, do it twice, do that a couple of times a day. And soon you should notice that your hamstrings are loosening up and your pelvis should have a little bit more mobility, which allows you to do other exercises that improve your kyphosis, like the Schroth method for kyphosis, or like general strengthening and mobility. So if you're dealing with kyphosis and you're struggling with knowing how to treat it, or you haven't found someone who knows how to treat that, here at Align Therapy we see kyphosis all the time. We'd love to see you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel and look for future videos on kyphosis treatment, because that is one of the things we see all the time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.